benefit me. But what do I know? On top of spaghetti, talking raisin. Alrighty now, it is Conference Championship Sunday, and you're talking with the old coach, Coach Hall at Sports for Real. And I'm getting excited about today's games because I've been hearing all the talk and all the possibilities and all the rumors and everything that goes along with these conference championship games. And it's time to play the games. First up, you got the Eagles hosting the Commanders at 3 o'clock today. It was about 40 minutes maybe. And that game's going to come down to a few things. First of all, can Washington slow Saquon Barkley? The last time they played, Barkley had 150 yards. And he didn't have too many long runs, but he was effective enough that he got that 150. If he's able to get 150 today, I think the Eagles might be in a position where they will win this game. Right now, they're favored by 6. And if you're a smart betting person, I think it might just be wise to go with the Commanders in this situation. I'm not saying that the Commanders will win at this point of the talk, but right now, Philadelphia is favored by 6. And the way that the Commanders are playing, that's an awful lot of points. Dr. Blue Snowball. How you doing, Dr. Blue? Please tell me, how do you come up with a name like Dr. Blue Snowball? I have no idea. Sean Botner says hi. Hey, man, it's time to play some football, Sean. You ready? Or you just chiming in to say hello? A lot of people in Philadelphia, you know how those people get rowdy up there. The Commanders come in there and get a victory today. They might have trouble getting out to the airport, man, because it's just that rowdy in Philadelphia, man. These people, when they saw that Detroit got beat by Washington, they had already stamped their tickets to New Orleans because they just know that they can beat Washington. But the question is, will they beat Washington? Hey, man, let's jiggle. I don't know what that means. Darian said, what's good? How you doing, dog? I'm doing great, man. Just ready to kick this thing off and play some football. Callie says, Ja Rule looking, bro. Whatever that means, but you have your fun. But anyway, this is going to be a great game today, and it's going to come down to old-style football. Can Commanders keep Barkley in check? They're going to have to run the same kind of plan that I've been telling you is necessary to beat the Baltimore Ravens. You're going to have to stop that run between the tackles, and then you have to keep that quarterback from escaping. And if you can do that, the guy standing in the pocket is going to have to beat you. And where I gave Jackson all that hell, he actually showed me that he can throw the ball when the game is on the line. So I got to give him credit for that. But I've seen Jalen Hurts do it, but not lately. He is not playing good football at all, in my opinion. And if it comes down to him having to throw that football to beat the Commanders, well, it look like Washington might be going to the Super Bowl. And I talked to the possible rematch opponent later, but I'm not calling that just yet. I'm just telling you what the possibilities are if Saquon Barkley cannot get off. As I started the show with, I told you that he got 150 yards last game, and if he's able to do that this time, then it's going to be a tough day for the Commanders. Kelly says, love. Snowball says, cool. Gary says, gotcha. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Eagles going to have trouble today with those Commanders. That's what I'm talking about. So I think it's going to come down to Barkley. You're going to have to keep Barkley under control. If you keep him under 100, Washington wins. If he gets over 150, Philadelphia wins. So it's going to come down to that. And you know they're going to get that tush push anything less than a yard. That's almost guaranteed. And turnover is going to play a factor in this game also, just like it did last week in Buffalo. But I think right now, I'm going to go ahead and call it. You're giving Philadelphia a 6-point advantage. You say you're going to win by 6. I think the Commanders are going to cover. And not only that, I think the Commanders are going to find a way to win this game. Why? Because of that rookie quarterback. Doesn't have any real pressure on him, right? The real pressure that he had was in the first playoff game when he played against Tampa. And the way they came back and won that game down the stretch, there's no more rookie quarterback. He's not a rookie anymore. This just happened to be his first year in the league, and he's wrapping that up. But at this point, he's not a rookie anymore. When you add that to the fact that he came in playing the same kind of football that he played or the same style of offense that he played in college, the only thing he really had to get adjusted to was NFL coverages and the speed of the game. And he's been a quick student at that. So I think that Daniels is going to have a great day. They're going to slow Saquon Barkley. Commanders are going to cover, and I'm pulling for the upset. I'm calling for the upset that Washington is going to the Super Bowl. Sylvia Salah say, where are you from? This is Florida. You ask me the same thing every time. Hey, man, going with all that crap. My day's been great so far. Right now, it's going to get even better once these 2 games kick off. Going to take me up to about 10 o'clock tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think Barkley's going to have a good game. I think he's going to come out and they're going to get the ball and they're going to score that first touchdown. And after that, the Commanders are going to adjust. And in the second half, they're going to come and do the same thing that they did last time they played. Score enough points in the fourth quarter to win the game. So I'm going to call for the upset, Washington. Detroit still is the better team, regardless if they're injured or not. But this is not basketball where you have you can lose 8 or 9 games during the playoffs and still go win a championship. You can't do that in football. It's just like life. You get an opportunity, you got one shot, and you better take advantage of it. And I think this is Washington's chance to do that. So, which goes back to the title I put on today's show. Is it fate that Washington can upset their way to the Super Bowl? Is it fate that it's now time for Buffalo to get to the Super Bowl? Or is it destiny that Kansas City is going to have things continually go their way? Now, the Chiefs, kind of like last year, they struggled, but they put it together late enough to win the championship. They got by Baltimore. They forced some turnovers. They made some key plays in that game. They made championship plays when it counted, and they got by Baltimore, and they got the bounce against San Francisco. A lot of people think that the league is biased toward Mahomes. It's biased toward Kansas City. So it doesn't matter what you do, the league is going to make some kind of call to keep that team on the field so they can score. Case in point, the last time they played against, the first game in the playoff when they beat Houston. They got that call on the first time they had the ball. The man hit him on the shoulder pad. They called roughing the passer. Man didn't get anywhere near his head. All they did was hit him on the shoulder pad, and they called roughing the passer. They gave the Chiefs a first down. It was 3rd and 12, and they would have had to punt. Instead, they came down and got some key points that would factor into the game later. We've been seeing it every year. They get some kind of key call, especially with Mahomes, who's running down the sideline, trying to bait the team to hit him so he can step out at the last second to get a 15-yard penalty. And the officials oblige him every time. So I've been advocating, if you're going to get a penalty anyway for something you didn't do, you might as well get a penalty for something you did do. So I say, take a shot at this guy. Let him know that it's not going to be none of that today. If you're going to beat us, then beat us. But it ain't going to be with no shenanigans. And that turns a lot of people off. And I think the referees are starting to catch on that that's not what the people want to see. They know the difference between a flop and what's really a foul. And they make the decision on how they want to call it. And for the most part, it's gone Kansas City's way. And that's been unfortunate for a lot of people. RDX Sherrod says hello. Hello to you. The base dude, I think Barry Bonds is the GOAT. Well, maybe he is the GOAT, but he ain't playing football today, so we're not going to get into Barry Bonds. We're talking about Saquon Barkley. Can he run the football today against a team that's going to be motivated to stop him in that Washington Commanders group. That's what we're talking about today, not baseball. We talk about baseball and after football is over. And if you guys are not familiar with my statement, basketball or anything else is just something to do until football comes back around. So football will be over in a couple weeks, then we can talk about everything else. But all that comes to a screeching halt once it's time for football again. Dr. Snowball say you're a teacher. I've been a teacher before. Right now I'm talking sports. That's what I'm doing, teaching you guys about sports. Like and subscribe there, Dr. Snowball. Why do Americans call a weird version of rugger football? You talking about rugby? Well, I don't know how it all came to be. I'm teaching life right now. I don't know how it came to be called football and how it relates to soccer and rugby and all those other things together, but that's just what we call it. And right now, football is the top dog. And the only way they can not be the top dog is if they keep coming up with these dumb rules where you can't actually play the game. If it's going to become a facsimile of the game, then it's going to lose its popularity. And given the violent nature of the game and the softness of society today, yeah, I don't think it'll ever recover. You know, baseball recovered somewhat. Basketball, they seem to be sliding back down to reality. People starting to not care about that so much. Football is clearly in control of the number one sports in the country right now, and it will stay that way unless they decide to ruin it with more dumb rules. Nobody plays football except USA and Canada. I didn't say anything about any other country. We know that Canada plays their version of football, and you have American football. They're trying to spread it around the world. We know that soccer or football is the number one sport in the world. I never denied that. But in this country, it is not. And it's gaining popularity because you have more of a mix of people that's coming nowadays that's bringing that love of soccer with them. But right now, it's not going to overtake football. Football is in control of the popularity unless, like I said, if they keep making the rules that turn the people off from watching the games, then soccer may move up higher. But yes, it's a love sport in the country, always been. It's just not on the same rate of American football. This is our sport. All right, Snowball says, I like the Raiders. Who do you like? I'm a Steelers guy, man. I told you guys before, I'm a Steelers. And I talk trash about the Steelers when they lose. When they win, I don't say nothing because we expect to win. So I'm not going to get all excited about Kansas City and whoever else might be playing in the Super Bowl. Somebody else got to play sometimes besides us, man. But speaking of Kansas City, Buffalo, in connection with the title, I think Buffalo, it is their fate to make it to the Super Bowl and end Kansas City's reign. They have won it 2 times in a row. They've done it in all kinds of ways. They got into bounce. They got bad calls. They got everything to go their way. This year, all the games that they won in close games went their way. At some point, that's going to turn around on them. The odds are going to work against Kansas City. And I think the odds will work against Kansas City today. They come in favored by 2 points at home, but I don't think Buffalo, it's time for Buffalo to get past Kansas City. And it's kind of ironic because when Buffalo went to those 4 straight Super Bowls, they had to go through Kansas City a couple times. So now that's turning around. So on a long enough timeline, I don't care how dominant one team has been over the other, it's going to turn around the other way. All right, Natty Fro says, your opinion on Jaden Daniels. I started out talking about Jaden Daniels. I said that Jaden Daniels, he had the fortune of going to a team that would allow him to play the same kind of offense he played in college. So the only real adjustments he had to make was the speed of the game and the kind of coverages that he was going to see in the NFL. He's done a marvelous job at that. And now his rookie status actually went out the window when he beat Tampa in the wild card round. There's no more rookie designation. He's just wrapping up his rookie year. And a lot of people are making a big deal about the fact that no rookie has ever taken a team to the Super Bowl, but there's been rookies that got their team in this position. The question is, can he finish the job? And I don't think it's not necessarily on him. I think it comes down to Washington's defense. Can they stop Barkley? If Barkley gets 150 or plus, then they're going to win the game. But if they keep him 100, 110, they're in an excellent position to win that game, man. That's all I'm trying to say. Well, I appreciate it, Blue Snowball. But still, you never told me how you come up with the name Blue Snowball, man. All right. Very informative. Keep it up, man. Your channel will grow. I appreciate it. I'm just running my mouth, telling you how I feel about it. I've been watching these sports for over 40 years, and a lot of it repeats itself. The names change, but once you've seen a lot of things, you got a good feeling about how things will go. But I appreciate the compliment. What do you think about women's sports? Hey, there's nothing wrong with women's sports. Well, you got to be more specific. I don't talk about the WNBA too much because I rarely watch that. I like to watch all the other sports, track and field. But even though I don't watch the WNBA, I've been watching women's college basketball since the early 80s. So I was more into that than the guys. That was more intriguing at the time. But that's changed a little bit. I don't see too many girls college basketball like I used to be. But I still keep an eye on it, and I think it's a high level to play. Actually, the women play more fundamentally basketball than the other guys, than the guys do. And the big reason why they aren't as popular, in all opinion, is because they can't do the exciting things like high-flying dunks. So if they ever get to the point where they can consistently do some high-flying dunks, and their game will grow. I'm a gorilla attack. My man is Dr. Snowball, but when I was going to make him my YouTube channel, there's already a Dr. Snowball, so I added my favorite color. Okay, so did you get your channel going? I mean, what are you talking about on your channel? You talking sports? Let's kick it. But that's a cool name, though, Dr. Blue Snowball. But you could have just spelled it differently. You don't have to change the name. I mean, it's different variations. But then again, Sports for Real was taking, somebody in England's got that name. So you just got to twist it around and make it yours, just like you did with the blue. But Kansas City, I think they were a team of destiny. I think that odds, I don't care who you are, eventually are going to work against you. And they've been winning so many close games, and things have been going their way, that eventually that has to stop. Yeeps, hide and seek, VR, or gorilla tag. Okay. So I'll take a snapshot of that and I'll look that up, see what you're talking about. But drop me a comment every now and then, man. We can talk a little bit of sports. But yeah, I think Kansas City, the odds are just not in their favor today. And then when I've seen other teams go for three-peat, something usually happened to them. I think back when the 49ers had won Super Bowl 23 and 24. And they were going for the three-peat, and they had to play the Giants out on the coast. And the Giants pretty much played a good, solid defensive game that day. And in the end, that's when Leonard Marshall got a big hit on Montana, and that's when he broke his wrist, elbow or something, and they went down to kick the field goal to win the game. Normally when you get in those situations, that's the kind of things that happen. I'm not wishing Mahomes or anybody gets hurt, but they're going to face odds like they hadn't seen before, because I think Buffalo's just got that look about them. They got the feel about them, about a team that can actually go through and win the whole thing. But they're going to have to get through a tough, raucous environment. It's not going to be as cold as it was last week, and it wouldn't matter anyway because they're a cold weather team. So I think it's going to come down to, just like last week, they're going to have to play almost a perfect game where they don't turn the ball over. They're going to have to run the ball, chew up the clock, and they're going to have to beat Kansas City, and they're going to have to overcome a couple bad calls. Other than that, you might just see Kansas City back in the Super Bowl. But the one surefire way is to not get caught by the NFL referee bug, is to extend the lead out, get at least a 10-point lead going down that stretch. And I think that was pretty much secured for Buffalo. But if it's a close game and they leave it in Mahomes' hands to have that one drive to win the game, that's when the referees might step in. But I think public opinion has it that they're ready to see Kansas City fall apart, primarily because they remind them of what New England was doing when they had Brady. And they don't want to see that again, and it kind of reminds them of the way things went. But I do think that Brady didn't get as many calls as Mahomes gets. So he's a hot child right now, and until somebody steps up and knock him off that throne, he's going to get those questionable calls. But it's the same way in the NBA. They used to have that star system where the fouls, anything close to a foul on a star player, they were going to call it. But the same star player can go down and knock the hell out of somebody, they won't call nothing. That's why in the early 80s you see all those fights. You foul me, no call. I barely touch you, it's a foul. Then you come back down again and you foul me, no call. Well, hell, I might as well knock the hell out of you. And then you get mad and now we fighting. Well, so be it. That's the way it goes. But I think they clean that up a little bit. But it's getting to that point with the NFL quarterbacks, and they know it. That's why they do a lot of flopping and trying to draw the immediate reaction from the officials. And a lot of time it works. So we'll see how it goes today. But it should be two great football games. And as long as there's no large disparity in turnovers, both these games should go into the fourth quarter. But I'm going to call it. I'm going to go with Washington. They're going to definitely cover that 6 points, and they're going to win the game because I think they're going to hold Barkley under that 150, under that 120 mark. And if they can do that, like I said, they should be able to pull this game out. But the other part of that is Kansas City and Buffalo. Chiefs are favored by 2 right now. And I think Buffalo is going to find a way to win this game. They're going to have to play a perfect game, no turnovers. They're going to have to be able to outplay the Chiefs. And they're also, by saying that, they're going to have to run the football. And they're going to have to be able to overcome any kind of negative calls that they get from the referees. It's going to happen at least 2 or 3 times a day. And they already got it in their mind that it's going to happen. So it's just a matter of fighting through that. But one thing I will tell you this, even though they're in Kansas City, and Chiefs got all the advantages, the weather, the fans, all of that. The one great thing about sports, especially when you're going up against great odds like the Bills are, you are facing everything against you. But when you come in there and you establish yourself and that other team now knows that you're not going anywhere, you silence the crowd. Crowd goes away. And it actually shifts to the advantage of the road team because they're not under the pressure that the home team is to win. Everybody in the stands wants the home team to win. Think about it. Go look at all the time. Matter of fact, just go back to last week when Detroit got beat by Washington. All the shots of the fans when they're looking all sad, there's no noise in there. That's the advantage to the road team. And as far as I'm concerned, the greatest thing in the world is to see the road team go into a venue like that against all odds and knock off that home team. That's what I like to see. Captain Zara, how you doing, man? Hope the Bills and Eagles win today. I chose the Bills and the Commanders. Are you an Eagles fan or are you just an East Coast guy? I've seen you on here before, and you make good comments. And I think that Jaden Daniels is going to have a good game, man. It would be nice to see the Eagles get into the championship because that would be a stark contrast if you got, say, Saquon, NFC going against Buffalo. Buffalo, I don't know, that might be an advantage for Philadelphia if they were to play Buffalo because Buffalo is kind of undersized up front. And because of that, the Ravens pushed them around a little bit, which begs the question, why didn't the Ravens have more of a run-heavy game between the tackles? Had they done that, we'd be talking about the Ravens today. I'm sure of that. Mike says, I support my daughter Eagles team. Well, it's not a bad team. They're not the Steelers, but they're okay. Okay, you're the one that talked about Steve Young being from your high school, right? So I understand that. 49ers fan, I support my daughter's team. Okay, I get it now. I remember you. Eagles. I think the Eagles might have a problem, though, man. I think Saquon, he's going to get his yards, but I don't think he's going to get the 150. Now, if he's up to around 75, 80 in the fourth quarter and he pops a long one, then that's not a good sign for Washington. But the thing is, it's kind of like with Detroit. Can you jump out to a big enough lead to where Philadelphia has to abandon their game plan to keep up. And the way it's going right now, the last couple of games, Hurts just don't look that great to me. And I don't think he's going to be able to put that team on his back and will them to the Super Bowl. So if Washington wins, I want them to beat KC or Buffalo. Okay. So in other words, you want the NFC to win. So it's either Eagles, Washington, you're an NFC guy because of the 49ers, so I guess that makes sense. But I think that if Washington and Buffalo were to meet, I think that Buffalo got a little score to settle with Washington. You know, they met in Super Bowl 26, and that's when they had that great team. They played up in Minneapolis, the old Metrodome. And that's the year that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks when Detroit made it to the conference championship game, that 91 team Washington had. And they were just better than Buffalo. And Thurman, what's his name? Thurman Thomas, that's the game he lost his helmet. He couldn't find his helmet. Yeah, Buffalo's 0-4 in the Super Bowl, and Washington is one of the assassins. And I think they can come back and right that ship a little bit if they were to come across them. That's why I started the show off with, is it fate? And I think Buffalo might just be fated to get to the Super Bowl, possibly. And if you notice, there's always been several rematches in Super Bowl history. That'd be another rematch if Buffalo were to play Washington. But I could be wrong. Both teams could get blown out. It's very possible. And it wouldn't be the first time. So I've been wrong. But that's just the way I feel about it. I just think that Buffalo's going to end up with Washington today. And that'd make for a good matchup because both teams, they're going to score some points. But it's going to come down to, can Washington exploit the size advantage that they will have over Buffalo in the trenches? And like I say, I don't understand what Baltimore was doing because they could have run the ball a little bit more than what they did. I thought that by them not running Henry as much during the regular season, even though he had a lot of yards, he could have got the ball much more than what he did. I thought they were saving him for a playoff run. They were just going to give it to him and just keep on giving it to him. But that's not the way it played out. And they got to ask themselves some questions up in Baltimore. That's the second year in a row when they got into championship caliber play, and they didn't run the ball that much. So go figure that. Mike said, someone said Russell Wilson can end up a Raiders going back to Pete Carroll. Yeah, I heard that. He said that he liked to stay in Pittsburgh. You know, he said all the right things. But at the same time, it might be a good match. But at the same time, with that, didn't Pete Carroll pretty much get rid of Wilson? So why would you go back to the same place to be with a guy who kind of cast you off? I'm sort of surprised, but not really, that the Raiders are taking a chance on Pete Carroll because of his age. He's, 73 years old, signed a 3-year deal. He says he's in great shape, but does he still have that fire he had when he first came back to the league? I think he's good enough of a coach to turn the team around, so that wouldn't be surprising. But for long term, I don't know. I think he's going to have to bring somebody along and turn it over to them, kind of like what Belichick is doing at North Carolina. He's going to turn it over to his son once his contract is up. And he's proved everybody wrong by staying in college when all these other jobs were open. People are thinking he's going to walk away, but I never thought he would. And Mike says, I'm happy about the 49ers' new DC. Yeah, they went back to Robert Saleh. I think that was a good move for Saleh to go back and reestablish himself. He'll be a head coach again one day. But, public opinion usually determines which coach is going to go where, unless you're talking about the Cowboys. And they tend to go with people that are, been in their fold before or, in the Jones farm system. And they end up with Brian Schottenheimer. Now, he's got coaching pedigree from his dad, Marty, and he's been in it. Dad got him into it, and now he's built himself up to be a head coach. So we'll see how that goes. But I heard that Jerry Jones was going to retire, but don't look like it. He's going to be in a position where he's going to try to control the whole situation until he can't control anything anymore. And that's just the way it's shaping up to be. But he may be a good coach. I don't know. But I know Carroll can coach. And the only other job that's left to be officially filled, that's the Saints. And the talk is that they're going to take McCarthy, who was once with the Cowboys. So Jaguars, they took the guy Liam Cohen after that controversial, he's going to sign the new offensive coordinator deal where it would have made him the highest OC in the history of the league, to backtracking after turning down Jacksonville. But if they don't get rid of Trent Baalke, then he will probably still be in Tampa. Baalke was the one that was holding things back in Jacksonville, and it took the owner almost too long to see that. But he's supposed to be this new hotshot coach, and he had a great offensive productive year with Tampa last year, so that's supposed to make him a great guy. But all these guys are retreads, and once they get in the door, it's just a matter of time before they end up with a shot to be a head coach. All right, Pete Carroll versus Jim Harbaugh, AFC West battle like the old days. USC Stanford when they coached in 49ers versus Seahawks days. Well, I think that at that time, Harbaugh might have been a better motivator than Carroll, because Stanford was clearly a step down from USC, and he managed to knock him off a couple times. And when you got the NFL, it all comes down to coaching. And Carroll, at this point, he's not going to be the main focal point of X's and O's. They're going to have coordinators doing that. And I don't know what's up with Jim Harbaugh, but I know he was having some heart problems. He had some. I remember reading he had to do some heart tests or something like that. And I hope he's all right. But yeah, that'd be a good matchup with him and Pete Carroll for however long it lasts. Saints should go after a coach still in the playoffs. Well, that might be the holdup, but I think what's going on, they're trying to negotiate contract deals with McCarthy. And that's the only reason why they haven't announced it. But they can't hire a coach that's involved in the playoffs right now. And I don't know who that would be for any of these four teams. I think that's pretty much what it's going to be like, the same way it is right now. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But I'm interested in seeing how this game is going to take place. And I'm thinking I'm going to go with Buffalo and Washington. And it's going to be nip and tuck both games. And unless there's a whole bunch of turnovers, I think that's just the way it's going to be. But the other part of the fate thing that I was talking about, sometimes it's your fate to survive tragic situations. Yesterday, I had to go down and we had the funeral for my uncle. But years ago, back when he was in the Army, he went out to some club somewhere. And I don't know if he drank too much or what he did, but he ended up going to sleep on the back seat. And next thing you know, he was in the hospital. Everybody in that car that night died except for him. So it was his fate to survive such a tragic situation. And after that crash, he lived on another 50, 55 years. He made it to 86. He had a long life, but I had to say goodbye to him yesterday. But I think sometimes fate works in your advantage. So a lot of people I know, they don't believe in fate. And if I'm the only person in the car that survived out of 5 or 6, and the only reason I survived because I was asleep on the back seat, then it was my fate to survive that. I was destined to survive. And when you apply it to sports, sometimes things just bounce your way. And with Kansas City, things have been bouncing their way. And I think their fate is now sealed because Buffalo is going to reverse that fortune today. And it should be some good action taking place. Any good college coaches who the Saints would take? No, I think all the good college coaches are gone. Now that the Raiders have hired Pete Carroll that throws Deion Sanders out of the loop, and I really didn't think that was going to happen anyway. But I am surprised he's still at Colorado because I thought once his sons were gone, he was gone for sure. And I appreciate it, Mike, for saying sorry for your loss. Yeah, that was a tough one. I've known him all my life. That's the tough part about life. You got to say goodbye, especially the longer you live. All those long relationships you had, it just go away like that, and it's kind of tough, man. But I'm fighting on. I'm going to get over it by watching me some football, or try to anyway. So I just want to come on and put my picks in there. Again, I'm going with Washington. I think Washington's going to find a way to stop Barkley, and if they don't win, they're going to be within 6 points. So if you're a betting person, take that 6 points, man. You might win some money. And Buffalo, they're only giving Kansas City's got a 2-point edge there, but I think Buffalo is going to win the game, so they'll cover 2. So that's just my thoughts. But if you do bet, Don't blame me. I just telling you what I thought. And a lot of people think the same thing. So wherever you are in the world, appreciate you joining in with the Cat and Zero, Mr. Blue Snowball, Natty Fro, and everybody else who chimed in. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I appreciate it. And I'll be back on early in the morning to talk about what happened with these conference championship games. And if I'm wrong, I come on and I tell you I was wrong, just like I did before. But I expect some good football today. So until next time, talk to you later. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. I'm out. I'm going to watch me some football.